Hi everyone. I interrupt yet another waiting session for a sort of ramble video. I've just gotten done with my free City of Waitaka video script, well, the Redux, and I am now assembling resources and I plan to record, tomorrow-ish. But tonight, to sort of warm up my voice, I wanted to do a little ramble / make a video asking about your thoughts. If you've been watching my content as of late, you've probably noticed I've strayed from my original mission of being a low-tier creepypasta narrator. Instead, I've shifted things into world building and writing, as well as some game development. Possibly my greatest ambition is turning my series into an audio drama, kind of like the ones you'd hear on the radio in the 50s, but now more at a modern standard. You may have seen my colorful cast of characters, or as some say, waifu and husbando bait, and the main 7 are from cultures that are, as I like to put it, echoes of real-world civilizations. For example, the Empire of Dratzenburg is very much reminiscent of the 1890s-era German Empire, with some Balto-Finnic influences, and the Grand Duchy of Emilia is like a mix of France, Spain, and Italy, mainly though inspired by the Occitan-speaking regions of France. Think Toussaint from The Witcher 3, transported to the 1890s, with a language like Occitan and some Venetian Renaissance flair, and whammo, you get Remilia, with the Pelagus Archipelago. Its backbone and heart are mainly Polynesian-inspired, but I also add in some Caribbean and Southeast Asian influence. And this is all in the context of a fantasy setting, so of course some inspiration is from the real world, but most of it will stand, rather all of it will stand on its own 2 legs. I've gone on a bit of a tangent, haven't I? So the reason I'm bringing this all up is because I want to ramble a bit about the accents of my characters in the audio drama I wish to make. I'll go over the main 7 characters and tell you about the accents I picture for each character. Maybe some linguistic elements too. So, starting off with Maruska Miryanova, the sweet fawn medic with an ancient cursed bloodline. You could probably tell she's generally Slavic-inspired, mainly Eastern Slavic, so think Russia, Belarus, or Ukraine. Her language is something I'm trying to construct, but it's more of a mix of Slavic languages. But I didn't want to just slap Polish and Russian into a blender and call it a day. Instead, I looked at older Slavic languages like Old Church Slavonic or the Old Novgorod dialect, and I added in a little bit of a language that isn't a Slavic language. Take a guess. You probably won't have a clue, but I used an old ancient Indo-European language known as Tocharian. Tocharian was a language first spoken in Xinjiang province in China by a group of people who were known as the, Tocharians. Tocharian is a dead language and we don't know for certain how it truly sounded, but linguists have tried their best to reconstruct it in Indo-European fashion. I added Tocharian in to add another layer to the Dubovkin language. Not just a sort of Slavic feel, but I feel the Tocharian adds in a little bit of mystery. Maruska is generally supposed to sound even-toned, yet sweet. As for her accent, well, as a Yankee Doodle, Slavic accents do tend to sound sort of... They sort of blend into one when spoken in English, but I have no doubt someone from Poland can tell someone is Czech or Russian from the way they talk. So for Miss Miryanova, her accent is decidedly Slavic in nature. Now onto Kahele. This one is quite easy. Tea culture is primarily inspired by various Polynesian peoples, so think Samoa, New Zealand, Tahiti, and Tonga. For simplicity's sake, I'll give him a New Zealand accent, and I can't, for the life of me, do a New Zealand or Australian accent. Nor is my voice deep enough for Kahele, so I will not be voicing Kahele anytime soon. With Sharagat Sawtooth, the Orc Trench Raider, I'm kind of stumped. So she's an ex-criminal from the Empire of Slimeth, which is sort of similar to the British Empire, with more of a Celtic and Tolkien-esque elven inspiration. I figured I'd give her a lower-class British or Scottish accent and call it a day, but that would be leaning more into her criminal past. Although I could go another route with her voice. I always liked Midwestern US accents, and the long vowels that often accompanied them. So what are you guys thinking? Cockney Orc? Or Fargo, North Dakota Orc? With Alvereth Tyven, the main protagonist of my series, I of course envision a received pronunciation British accent. The kind of accent that makes you sound intelligent, even if you're a complete idiot. Tyven is upper class, posh, with all of the instructors and all the ladies fawning over him, and he will not have you forget it. And considering his link to an ancient evil god king, I would say his accent is something you'd hear out of some overeducated Oxford fop. I'd say he's well within my capabilities to voice. He's my first choice of a character to voice, and I'll get to my second soon. So next on this little list is Thule. Thule, like Kahele, shows up in Book 3 of my story, and she's a blind assassin and swordswoman from the free city of Waitaka. She was originally used as a living weapon by a dangerous cult called the Congregation of Tearsite. I picture most Dratzenbergians in my setting speaking with either an Austrian or German accent. But for Thule, I think Australian will do. I know what many are thinking. Wait, a Crocodile Dundee accent for a near emotionless, brainwashed assassin? That can't be right. Well, no. Think more so, very reclusive, soft-spoken, monotone Melbourne art student. And you've got Thule. She only really takes her helmet off when she feels safe. And so you will hear a lot of her voice reverberate in that tin can. Speaking of Dratzenbergians, it's Franziska time. So Franziska is of course from a nation of cat people that's similar to the German Empire. Linguistically, however, I decided to make her language more of a mishmash of various Germanic languages, with most of the emphasis being placed on general German feel, but with elements of Old Norse, Texas Deutsch, and some Icelandic, with various feline noises thrown in, like a trilled R. She's cocky, but it's well earned, and she can be best described as a femme fatale. Her voice is more so low and sultry, and her accent more so resembles German or Austrian. Last character, but certainly not the least. Well, he is the least when it comes to height. Valdel J. Underblossom. Yes, the little halfling dude. So I was thinking of him as a second choice of character to voice in this audio drama, and I figured I do have a decent enough Irish accent, although it does dip into Scottish somewhat for a more pan-Celtic feel. My voice is on the higher side for a guy, and I do think I could pull him off. So now that this little ramble is over, I wanted to say thank you very much for your time. And I hope to get the free City of Waitaka video out soon, and I have been working hard on script writing, but I found it hard to do so with my new job, and just helping around the house. But I'm still very dedicated to bringing you my world in the very best way I can. Thank you so very much for your patience. It will be rewarded. I guess I'll see you in the next one.